After spending 30 years in Johannesburg, I finally decided last year it was time to go. Johannesburg has been extremely good to both my wife and I, but then during the last 5 years, unfortunately, things have got considerably worse. The crime, the general upkeep of the city, and also the economy has led me to not be able to sustain a living in the way that I was used to, which was, wasn't a high standard of living, but it was reasonable. I did some corporate work, and also my photographs are being sold at galleries both locally and overseas. The decision was to move to a small town on the west coast of South Africa called Redlinghuis, which is 2 hours north of Cape Town. Apart from uprooting oneself after 30 years on a practical basis, as a photographer, I realized I was letting go of a lot of my connections with Johannesburg as a city and also the northern part of South Africa as a whole, because that's where I'd spent a lot of time and done a lot of my work. So I knew it was going to be a challenge to come down and find a way to connect with a new environment and to find subjects that I could immerse myself in photographically from a position of depth and a position of knowledge. And that's really difficult because one takes for granted the sense of connection you have with a place. Initially, when I got here, I was preoccupied with getting things set up, but soon I felt the need to look around and to think what I really wanted to photograph in the area without falling into the trap of approaching subject matter from a surface, possibly tourist viewpoint. The small village that we live in is very close to a conservancy called the Cederberg. And when I was growing up, I would spend a lot of time in this area doing donkey trails where the donkeys would carry one's packs and one would hike and climb the mountains. It's quite a remarkable place, and the rock structures are unique. I remember as a young boy just looking at these eroded rock sculptures. Even at this young age, I was aware of their innate power and also the sense of history that one could feel in the area, both the geological as well as people like the San who had occupied these spaces hundreds of years before. I realize now in retrospect that these experiences that I had growing up and spending time in the Cederberg influenced why I chose to study geology at university. It was only years later that I realized it had nothing to do with the actual science of how the rocks had formed, but it was more about the visual aspect of them and how impactful they can be. Rather, it's the visual power of these formations as well as the emotions that they evoke. Towards the end of last year, I started to formulate a plan on how to photograph the Cederberg in a way that allowed me to focus on the abstract nature and power of the rocks. And even though the images are landscapes and do not have people in them, I wanted to bring to these images the emotional path that we all have to walk in life between light and dark. So what I hope to do is hold these two in an uncomfortable balance that adds tension to the images. I've chosen to photograph in this format because it allows me to explore the abstract nature of these rock formations by shifting away from the deeper frame. I'm encouraging the viewer to focus on the shapes and the shifts in tone within the frame. It's been uncomfortably hot during the last few months, so I've avoided walking in the mountains, but my intention is to go back fairly soon and to spend some more time photographing and honing this project. So I will come back to it in a future video. I hope you enjoyed that, and yeah, feel free to like, subscribe and comment. Okay, see you next time. Thanks.